Hello everyone, I'm Rick Janzen. Welcome to my fly bench. Well, let me tell you a story about when I was fishing Sheridan Lake over 30 years ago during a cinnamon sedge hatch. Now the cinnamon sedge is a diminutive caddis compared to our traveler's sedge, and so I was fishing some smaller pupil patterns. The halfback nymph dangled about 12 or 15 feet under a floating line was giving me some success. But others around me were doing a lot better. When I got back to the campsite, a kindly older gentleman came up to me and said, "Let me share a secret with you. If you want to do well on this cinnamon sedge hatch, you need the 96, and he gave me a fly. It was called that after the serial number of a mustad hook being used at the time to tie this pattern. He said the secret was rather badly kept. The only secret part about it is that it had never been published in a magazine or book. He gave me detailed instructions on the recipe, and so I took it back to the campsite and went to work making up a handful for the next day. I have since fished this fly very successfully on Sheridan Lake and other lakes in the area that have a cinnamon sedge hatch. It is a dynamite pattern, and trout do reliably take it when a cinnamon sedge is going on. And now we're talking big trout, between 3 and 10 pounds regularly. Well, it's been over 30 years, and it's time to let the cat out of the bag. So let's take a look at the materials you're going to need to tie Sheridan's secret. Okay everyone, well, as I mentioned in the introduction, this fly was originally called the 96 for the mustad hook it was tied on, a number 10 96 wet fly hook. That hook, of course, is now not in production anymore. They have different ones, and so I've had to change hooks. So I've gone with the Togen's number 12 2x long curved nymph hook, simply because I have it and it represents the size very well. To that I've added my 6/0 black tying thread and about 8 coils of lead wire here to the thorax region of the fly in order to build up some bulk and help it sink down to the trout's strike zone level. First order of business is to come in with our black wire, and this is the only change I've made to this fly. Originally, the segmentation on the abdomen portion of the fly was tied with a tag end of thread, and I found the thread to be too fragile. After only a couple of fish it would fray through, so I've gone with the black wire. It's much more durable. Just have to capture it in there properly, and then there we go, we've got it cinched in there. And then on top of that, right away, we're coming in with some natural pheasant tail, cock pheasant tail, center pheasant tail fibers. I'm going to go with I like to go with about 6 fibers of those. You don't need that many, but if 1 or 2 break, then you still have sufficient fibers to cover the shell back that you want. We're going to tie those in tips forward and do the pinch loop method, capture them there, cut off our tag ends, and then I'm going to hold the wire and the pheasant tail together and pull it slightly towards myself as I wrap back on the hook. That allows it to center it on the top of the back of the hook. And we're going to go back to about where the barb is there, and that's good enough there. Now we're coming in with 2 or 3 peacock curl fibers. I'm going to go with 2 nice bushy ones here. There we go, peacock curl, and we'll tie those in by the butts right here. Give that the pinch loop, capture it nicely there, bring it back onto the pheasant tail a little bit, and then forward towards the lead wire. Make sure that's well and truly anchored there. And we cut off the tag ends just behind the lead. Now I'm going to bring the thread forward onto the lead because we want these to build the abdomen that far. So we're going to wrap the peacock herl around there, giving it a series of nice buggy wraps here. You got that bronze and iridescent green, it's so buggy looking. And you can see as we get towards the abdomen or thorax, we get some tapering up, which is really nice. We want that natural taper, it looks really good. So we tie that peacock herl off here about mid lead and cut it off. Then we bring the pheasant tail forward and we capture it on top of the hook. And then once we've got one wrap, we want to make sure it's nicely centered. And I'm just positioning it there, making sure I've got it nicely centered on the back, and then start securing it with a few more wraps. There we go. Now that we've got it on here, one of the secrets, one of the precisions about this fly was the gentleman told me that you need to shave the burrs off the pheasant tail. Pheasant tail has natural burrs on the tail feather fibers, which is very useful on like a pheasant tail nymph. But he said on this nymph, you don't want them on there. You want a clean, glossy back. So I'm taking a safety razor and just giving that a bit of a shave. Of course, you've got to be careful here. You don't want to cut through the tail fibers. And you got to go both directions. And you make sure you clean that off nicely. Okay, now the segmentation that used to be done with the thread, I'm doing with the wire. He said exactly 4 wraps. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll bring that up here and capture that underneath on my side of the hook. Couple of wraps there to capture it, and then we're going to bring that pheasant tail back and the wire forward, and we're just going to wrap around the wire up forward of the pheasant tail here, and then make sure it's well captured by the thread. Now putting some tension on the thread, we'll just helicopter that out there. I'm pulling on the bobbin. Now I'm going to wrap the pheasant tail shell back here back into the abdomen a little bit. We'll slowly walk it back till it's on there, so we're going to have a nice continuous flow there. We're not going to have a narrow pinch there, pinch point. So now that we've got that walked back there, we'll come in with some more pheasant tail, and this time 6 or 8 fibers again. 8 is good, and again we'll pull those off and tie them in tips forward. Now to judge the length here, I want about half the hook length, so that the tips reach the point of the hook or very close to it. So I'm going in about here, and I'm going to do that pinch loop method, capturing those, and then wrap my thread forward toward the eye, and then back again. And you can see that there's a gap between those 2 clusters. I'm going to walk the thread back so that they become one cluster. Like that. We've got a single cluster. Now we come in with pheasant tail again, or peacock herl again, sorry. Another 2 or 3 fibers to create the thorax region of the fly. There we got 2 nice robust fibers. I'll bring those in here. Capture them again by their butts with the pinch loop method. Walk the thread forward. Cut off the tag ends. And then we're going to wrap our peacock herl forward to create the thorax region of the fly. A nice bulky thorax here, you can see. This is the wing pad area of the caddis pupa, and it's more swollen than the abdomen. So we've got that built up there. We're going to capture that and then cut those fibers off, the tag ends there, and give another wrap or so. And now we divide our legs here before we bring it, try to make it as even as possible, and be careful here. You've done well to this point to build this fly, and don't want to hurt it now by tearing off these tips. Now that I've got them somewhat divided, I wet my fingers in my left hand, pull them back and down, trying not to poke myself on the point of the hook, and start building my head. This will start to hold those fibers back and down, and we've got to about the point of the hook is where we want them. Now we bring our shell back forward and pinch loop method, capture it there. Another wrap, pull it taut, and build the rest of our head. Nice conical head. Cut off our tag ends there. Now you can see the obvious resemblance to the halfback fly. The two materials are the same, the peacock herl and the pheasant tail. However, the differences were significant enough to turn my 5 fish days into their 15 to 20 fish days. And those differences are the lack of the tail and the shellback that covers the whole abdomen with the segmentation. In the clear waters of Sheridan Lake, I could fool a few of these lower IQ fish with my halfback, but they were regularly taking those beady-eyed, wary trout with this pattern that was more precise. This is what was needed. And when I started to tie and fish this pattern, my luck increased threefold. So we're going to give that some Sally Hansen's there for the head and give it a whip finish. And there's one more touch to this fly, which is also a part of the precise instructions. The clear nail polish comes in two places, one in the head and one in now hardening the shell back of the abdomen portion of the fly. Remember, we shaved those fibers off in order to give that more of a glossy sheen. Now we're adding the Sally Hansen's there as well, and I'll do about 3 coats of this just on the abdomen region, not on the thorax region. Brush that on there and gives it a lot of durability and a higher gloss, which is what the trout were looking for. So I'll have to let that dry before I put the second coat on. But there you have Sheridan's Secret, the cinnamon sedge pupa imitation. A deadly fly on that lake, very precise imitation of the natural and well worth knowing how to tie. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I'm wishing you good luck and tight lines, and thank you for watching. Bye for now.